I have been watching horror movies since I was 5 and I'm 24 now, and in all of those years there has only been one movie that genuinely terrified me. Some would say traumatized, but I'm too cool to admit that. I watched this movie about 11 years ago when I was 13 and it has plagued my mind ever since. However, I have been trying to find this movie for years and I've never been able to do it. I looked up every possible buzzword, every possible description. Years went by and I still wasn't able to find this movie. But then, when all hope seemed lost, I had finally given up on my search. I found a random Reddit post of somebody on the same search as I was, and there it was. Hidden in the comments of a random Reddit post was the answer I have been searching for. Citadel! The movie's name is Citadel. Finally, I have found you. I am genuinely so happy. Oh my god. But, shit. Now that means I need to watch the movie, doesn't it? Fuck! Citadel, as I mentioned, was a movie that genuinely traumatized me as a kid. So today I'm going to sit down and watch it to see if my fear was actually justified or if I was just a pussy. Let's find out. The movie starts with our main character Tommy and his pregnant girlfriend moving out of their old apartment. And I know what you're thinking, a pregnant woman in a horror movie, that can't be good. But I'm here to assure you that she is going to be completely... Yeah, never mind, you were completely right. This is one of those scenes that I mentioned being ingrained in my mind. It just creeps me out. We see Tommy going down and putting some of his belongings in the car, and then we see him making his way back upstairs to get the last few bits that they need to move. But once he reaches his floor, we see 3 hooded kids walking towards his girlfriend. Unlucky for Tommy, the elevator door won't open, and once he sees that his girlfriend is being attacked by these 3 little hoodlums, the elevator then conveniently goes down a few floors. It seems God thought he needed to get his steps in. Now the reason this scared me so much as a kid is not only because the fucking scene itself is designed to make you have a panic attack, it's because little kids walking around in full tracksuits with their hoods up is not a very uncommon occurrence in Ireland. So it was something relatable that I seen every day. Minus the stabbing pregnant women part, I still haven't unlocked that mission yet. And I just genuinely hate kids in horror movies. I hate them. The Grudge? No thanks. The Ring? Go fuck yourself. They just creep me out, and if I was to see 3 little kids walking towards me like they are to this woman in this movie, I would most likely go to jail because I would hit them with the swiftest kick that would make Chuck Norris proud right to the jaw. But anyway, back to the movie. Tommy starts making his way upstairs to make sure his girlfriend is okay, and this is how I know this movie is made to fuck with people with anxiety, because my ass was clenched by this man getting his steps in on the stairs, bro. Oh man, it just gives you anxiety, man. But he eventually makes it to the floor and his girlfriend is not looking in the best shape. She is beaten and bloodied and she has a syringe. Yes, a syringe sticking out of her stomach. We cut to the hospital where we see her being wheeled on a stretcher where she has all this foamy stuff coming out of her mouth. Sorry, I just have that effect on people. Yeah, rabies. And in the very next scene, we find out that unfortunately his girlfriend has fallen into a coma. But looking on the bright side, he gets handed a brand new healthy baby girl. The baby survived. Yippee! I'm not lifting my arms up because I'm sweaty, but yippee! And Tommy is like, I now dub D Elsa. We then cut to a few weeks later and my god man, I felt so bad for Tommy in this movie. Because not only did he witness an attack like the one on his girlfriend and now he has to solo parent, he is now crippled with fear, or the scientific term that they use in the movie, agoraphobia, which by definition means having an extreme or irrational fear of entering open or crowded places, of leaving one's home, or of being in places from which escape is difficult. And I don't know if this guy won any awards for this. I'll put his name up on screen, but fuck me, man. This might be like the most accurate depiction of crippling anxiety I have ever seen. Just look at this scene of him trying to leave his house. The movie follows Tommy for a little bit, going about his daily life and trying to combat these fears, and we see that he is constantly on edge and thinking that these kids are going to be coming back for more, but he is constantly told by nurses and psychiatrists and stuff like that that they are not going to be coming back for him. And just as he starts to believe that, he gets an unwanted visitor. Nothing really happens here, but he later finds a syringe on his sitting room floor. The same syringe that they used to comatose his wife. If you were thinking that it can't get much worse for our boy here, you are sorely mistaken, because the next day, he goes in to see his girlfriend one last time because they are going to be pulling the plug on the life support machine. I remember being really creeped out by this movie, but I don't remember it being so sad. Like, it's so sad. And if that wasn't bad enough, we see him running for the final bus of the day as it takes off. And that really annoys me because the bus driver definitely saw him. No place like home. Because he missed the bus, he has to walk home in the dark, which is not ideal when you're being hunted by demon children. But anywho, he manages to get home without any problems, but as soon as he gets to his front door, he realizes he doesn't have his key. So he does the reasonable thing and kicks the door open. But now, unfortunately, the door will not lock or shut. So we're gonna have a little game. I'm gonna let you guys guess from A to C what you think he does to solve this issue. Is it A, he nails some boards onto the door to keep it shut, B, calls a locksmith, or C, uses the metal chain lock? Have you picked yet? Oh, well, yep, it was C. It was fucking C. Are you fucking dumb? Because nothing deters people who are trying to break into your house and murder you more than a dainty little chain lock. As you may have guessed, this doesn't work out too well. The kids break in, one smacks Tommy in the head with the door, which leaves him a bit concussed, and they start trashing upstairs looking for something, which we later find out was his daughter's crib. But luckily for Tommy, his daughter was downstairs in the sitting room and not upstairs in her crib, so they weren't able to get her. And now one thing I didn't mention up until this point, mainly because I completely forgot the scene even existed, is that a few scenes prior to this, we seen Tommy and a few other people at his girlfriend's funeral. And as he is walking away talking to some of his nurses, the priest walks by and says, "You need to get inside." And he starts acting really erratic and tells them that like they're going to be coming for her, and then just decides to walk away. If you were going to warn somebody about something like that, would you at not least be a bit more clear about it? But then we fast forward back to where we were before when his house got broken into, and it is confirmed that the man was right. They are after the kid. But obviously the next day, since he's a bit shaken up by, you know, his house being broken into by these little shits, but boys, get this. He actually does something smart. He goes into his kitchen and rips all the doors off of all of his cabinets, and he then nails them to the door to keep it shut, which, no need to brag, was my idea. At least I put some wood on the fucking thing, like, God. There you go, use that door, you know, you just got yourself a bit of wood. But after this, he goes upstairs and locks himself and his daughter in the bathroom. And a little bit later, we are made to believe that the kids have returned for more when the window smashes downstairs and somebody makes their way up to the second floor. But haha, prank, it was just a nurse. They sit down and Tommy is explaining to her exactly what happened and explaining that he thinks that they're after his daughter, but for some reason she does not believe him, and she keeps trying to convince him that he is imagining the fact that it was the same people that, you know, attacked his wife, and that it was just a simple burglary. Like, I get it to a certain degree, but it's not like he imagined it. The house was trashed as she's seen, and he's seen the people that done it. Like, he has severe anxiety. He doesn't have schizophrenia. Like, I don't understand. After they have their chat, they make their way to talk to the priest, because it seems like he has more information than he's letting on. At first, he's less than polite.
Get out!
Well, they came last night.
Well, they didn't get us, did they? If you don't mind fucking off, I'm very busy.
But after asking again, he decides to show Tommy what these kids really are. We find out that these little kids have nested in the apartment block that Tommy and his girlfriend used to live in, and they have completely taken over this building. But while him and the priest are driving up to this place, Tommy starts freaking out and says that he doesn't want to be here, turn around, let him out of the car. And this man ain't having any of it. He just fucking powers through, and he takes it to the extreme, man. They stop right outside front of this apartment block, and my man gets out of the car to pull Tommy out and try and knock some sense into him. But as he is doing that, a few of the kids come out of the apartment block, which sends Tommy into a frenzy. And it is during this that we are told that these kids can't see. They can only see fear. And I actually really like this line that the priest says to Tommy.
Jesus Christ, some of them watching us.
Oh, they see you, Tommy. They see you very fucking clearly.
But Tommy is begging and pleading with the man to let him back into the car, and after a stupidly long time he eventually opens up the car so they can both get in, but then decides to take this time to lecture Tommy and to try get him to look at these little kids. But just before Tommy can even look, the wing mirror gets knocked off of the car, and then the man starts to drive off because, you know, his property is being damaged. The whole point of this little experiment was to try convince Tommy that these aren't actually human, because the entire time he is under the impression that they are just delinquent kids, when in reality they're like fucking demon children. Tommy, obviously being a little flustered by this whole fucking event, doesn't really believe the man, and after he tells him about his plan to blow up the entire apartment block to rid this city of these fucking infestations, Tommy then believes that he is just batshit crazy, and he leaves it at that and walks away. He says he's not helping him with his plan, and that's that. After this cheerful moment, Tommy ends up going home with the nurse, and we have our first wholesome moment of the entire movie when the nurse makes Tommy get up and have a little dance with his baby, because she soon realized that he doesn't really talk to his child because he's just suffering from so much fear, and for the first time we see him looking calm. But the nurse might have got the wrong idea. Excuse me, miss, I don't think this is the right time for that. My man has been hunted by a pack of kids who also broke into his house, and the girlfriend, aka the mother of his child, just passed away less than a week ago. And you think now is the right opportunity to give this man a smooch. The next night, the nurse is walking Tommy to the bus stop, and they come across a dark underground tunnel that they need to go through to get to the bus stop. Tommy is obviously not game for this right now. He doesn't want to walk through this, but the nurse eventually convinces him that everything's fine. She walks through here every day for work, yada yada yada. And as he gets deeper and deeper into the tunnel, he starts to let go of his fear a little bit and actually starts to enjoy the time more with the nurse. But as soon as his fear begins to loosen its grip on him, a wild gang of hoodlums appear. Tommy is obviously terrified at this point, but the nurse thinks that Tommy is being silly and tries to convince Tommy that he is just racially profiling these little kids, and tries to say to him that they are just like you and me, but they are just less fortunate than them, and they deserve our sympathy more than fear. You know, that's all well and good, but when these so-called unfortunate kids are scavenging and attacking bin bags with weapons while growling and grunting the entire time, maybe it's a good idea not to get too close. But anywho, the nurse goes up to try and convince Tommy that there's nothing to be afraid of by walking up and talking to the kids, and it seems to be going all well and good because she turns to let Tommy know that everything's oh fuck me, home run. That kid's got impeccable form. Now this is another one of the scenes that I remember very vividly, and it is just as creepy and unsettling as I remember it being. Yeah. Tommy starts running for his life and he almost gets hit by a bus in the process. The bus driver surprisingly lets him get on the bus, which is very out of character for him. The bus drivers in this movie are really creepy and they really make you question whether they know if these little fucking hoodlum kids are going around or if they're like in on it or something, because they are like demonic in and of themselves. But my question was soon answered when the bus comes to a screeching halt and the windows downstairs start to smash, because quickly after we hear the bus driver screaming out as he is being killed. So that answers the question. Obviously he didn't know they existed. The kids make their way upstairs to have a look for the baby, but unfortunately for the old man sitting upstairs with us, he wakes up in the most unfortunate timing ever, and they give him a makeover off screen. Now this is the part that really confused me. I don't know if it's a mistake or if there is actually a reasoning behind this, but like these kids got on this bus looking for this specific child, right? And they are blind to everything other than fear. So I don't really understand how they were unable to see Tommy, because my boy looks pretty terrified to me. But I digress. As the kids are just about to leave their search and walk out of the bus, baby Elsa does what babies in horror movies do best and cries at the most unfortunate fucking time. Instantly Tommy tries to make a run for it, but unfortunately the door is blocked by a bunch of hoodlums, and unfortunately Tommy gets beaten to a pulp and his baby is taken away from him by the kids. Now that the kids have Elsa, Tommy is obviously upset about this, so he runs straight to the priest to ask him for some help. The priest is pretty reluctant at first because his plan requires all of the kids to be in the apartment block so he can blow it up. But after seeing how committed Tommy is that he is going to be going in there tonight, he eventually lets up and says that he's going to join. And it is here that it is revealed that the priest's son, who up until this point we've only seen little bits and pieces, so he's probably not even going to be in this video, but we find out that the priest actually saved him from a similar place like that with all those like hoodlum kids when he he was just a baby, so he wouldn't have been with them very long, which is why the only side effect he has from it is the fact that he's blind, but he can also see fear. So the priest tells Tommy to stay close to the little kid whose name is Danny, because Danny will be able to let Tommy know if they can see him or not. Now, I'm not going to talk much about this ending because like not very much happens. Like it's still very entertaining and tense. Like I was on the edge of my seat the entire time trying not to shit myself, but I'll give you a quick rundown of what happens now. The boys' mission goes as follows. They attach a detonator to the engine of their car, make their way up to the building floor by floor and break the gas valves, but just before they were able to finish that step of the mission, the priest starts coughing up blood. And because of this, Danny is now able to see his fear, because he is scared of his own death. But it isn't long before the boys notice that he is there and they start running to their location. The priest then tells Tommy to make sure Danny is safe and take him with him, and says to go down to the basement because that's where his daughter will be, and he sacrifices himself to give them time to get away. But while on their way down, Danny gets grabbed by one of the kids and Tommy rushes out to save him. Tommy and the demon boy start to squabble, and I did not realize these kids were built like that because they are throwing my man around like an inflatable toy. They are strong. But although his ego is definitely being tested right now, my boy does not back down, and he gets the kid in a headlock, grabs a piece of glass and slices his fucking throat. Danny gets a bit scared because he says that he doesn't want to die in this place, but Tommy reassures him that it will be all okay and that he won't let anything happen to him. They make their way to the basement when we see one fucked up scene, man. The basement is full of cages that have children locked inside of them, all of which are on different stages of mutation, and some of the kids are eating babies, like newborns. Like, what the fuck, man? Yeah, this shit's fucked up. But luckily for Tommy, Elsa seems completely fine, and they start making their way towards the exit. But unfortunately, just as they see the outside world, the boys come back from their late night extravaganza, and Danny is now the one that is terrified about this. But this is a moment that shows how much Tommy has grown in this movie, because he says the same thing to Danny that Danny said to him earlier.
They're not gonna see us, Danny.
And they both start walking through the crowd. Tommy has his eyes closed, even though I guess he can't see anyway, so I don't see what difference that would make, until they make it to their car. Then they turn the ignition and boom! The little demon spawn are all dead. And that is the end of Citadel, folks. This movie really fucking held up, bro. It really did. This is a solid movie. I was nowhere near as scared of it as I was the first time around watching it, obviously because I'm a little older now. However, it was still fucking terrifying. I don't know if it was because of the fact that I already had like a preconceived fucking trauma from this movie and I was expecting it to be scarier than it actually was, and in turn it made me feel more scared in that way. I don't know, but something about the way this movie is made, it is less of a horror and more of a psychological horror. I feel like the movie was designed to make you feel like you are in his shoes, and they done a really good job of that, I can't lie. The weirdest part about it is this is an independent Irish movie, so this movie wouldn't have even had that big of a budget. Like, I see horror movies today being made for millions and millions of dollars and they don't even come close to what this movie made me feel. This guy on screen, he was phenomenal, man. So fucking good. I feel like the only reason this movie works so well is because of his acting. Because if he wasn't as good as acting afraid as he was in this movie, it wouldn't have worked as well, because we wouldn't be as afraid of these things either. So yeah, folks, that's gonna do it for today. Make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe, comment down below any other movies that you would like me to do in this style of video, and of course, if I pick your movie or show or whatever it may be, I will shout you out in the video. But yeah, we're on the road to 1K. Do with that information what you will. But yeah, folks, with that said, it's been EXO, and I hope you have a good one. Toodaloo.